April 20th at the Doncaster Dome, two of the highest level technicians in the whole world of professional wrestling collide. The wider wrestling fan may not realise this, but I'm going to say that anyone who is familiar with Kanji and familiar with Mercedes Moné, I think that this is a dream match. This is the very definition of a dream match.
I'm in a position now where I know who I am and I know that I can do it. I am actually made for wrestling. I believe it.
If Kanji were to beat Mercedes Moné, it would mean absolutely everything. I think that a lot of people don't give her a chance. I think that's going to motivate her further. I think that anyone who's able to get a victory over Mercedes Moné at this stage is going to become an overnight superstar. Not only do you become the undisputed British women's champion, but you also become the talk of the town. A match against Mercedes Moné is high pressure. High pressure for anyone. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. For Kanji, she's going to have the weight of the world on her shoulders, and she knows April 20th is her opportunity to show the world exactly who Kanji is.
The biggest thing I remember in wrestling are the stories. It's not necessarily the actual matches or the moves, but it's the stories that are the moments that I remember. My story in Rev Pro, it's me personally showing the Rev Pro universe and British wrestling fans, this is everything I have, this is everything I can offer. Is it good enough? And I'm going to prove to you that it is good enough. I'm not competing with anybody else, only myself. I want to show you and everybody and Mercedes Moné what I am actually capable of. I started training in 2017 at House of Pain in Nottingham. My head trainer is Styx. I was also trained by Joseph Connors. So this, what we're in now, was the first ever wrestling ring I saw. So I went to watch a show, a House of Pain show. I just went on my own as well. I had no one else with me. I just went on my own. I had goosebumps for the whole show. And then there was one woman on the show as well. And it just really made me feel that I can do this. Like this is actually a dream that could come true. And then a couple of weeks later, I turned up to the school on an open day. Saw this ring in front of me. I saw Styx sitting on the edge of it. He's massive in his vest top. I'm like, oh my God, he's a real wrestler. And then I had the open day and I didn't turn back. I just carried on. It was that point when I realized, like, I think this is for me. This is it. It's everything I expected. It hurts. And I had headaches for weeks when I was learning to bump. But never turned back, and I never once said, I can't do this. Because I knew it, I felt it. Where I am now, I really appreciate those times in the winters, just stagnant focus, working on a headlock and how a headlock needs to be held on. In the freezing cold, you can't feel your toes, you can't feel your fingers, and you're just constantly going over and over again, just a headlock hold. But now I'm so grateful because my technique for the simple holds, the fundamentals of my wrestling, I think, is so strong because of those early training sessions with the likes of Joseph Connors and Styx.
Kanji's got a huge connection with the fans. It's one of those things, isn't it? You know, like, how can you put your finger on one attribute that makes her so personable? When I think about Kanji, I smile, you know, and I think that that's something that the fans resonate behind, you know. In life, she's just a genuine human being. And I think that that's all anyone can ask for. And I think that if you think about traits that you like in people, it's people that are genuine, that are humble, just relatable. I think that's what she is.
My presence, my style, my attitude to wrestling is very fiery and intense, but you will see the side, especially at the beginning of matches, the fact that I'm just happy to be there and I want to have a good time. And the heart is in the sport more than anything. I would like to live out the enjoyment of wrestling as a fan through the eyes of an actual wrestler for everybody else. Because I think we all start to get into wrestling, whether you're a worker or a fan, because we are a fan. So the initial reason why we actually start is because of we really enjoy wrestling, we're fans of it. And I think that is something that we should never lose, and I never want to lose that.
She comes out through the curtain and she's 10 feet tall, you know, her arms are out. Can she do it? Yes, she can, G. And anyone who's seen glimpses of her behind the curtain before she goes out will know that she's just like that behind the curtain as well, like that spring ready to burst. As well as being relatable, as well as being likable and genuine, I think that everyone loves an underdog story. And I think that Kanji really is somewhat of an underdog story. You know, she's had to overcome a lot to get to where she's got to. And I think people can get behind that.
So my first serious injury was I broke my arm during a match in Ireland for OTT. It was against the Japanese legend Emi Sakura. Yeah, my arm practically snapped in half and I was holding it together. And once it happened, I felt like I was in a dream. I didn't think it was real at all. And I just held it and I was like, I'm going to wake up in a second, I'm going to wake up. And then I lifted my arm up, and when I let go, it just like flopped down like this, and I had to hold it back together. Oh my gosh, it's real. I had an operation, I had a metal plate put in this side and a metal plate put in this side here as well. I had it whole year off for the recovery of that. When I first came back in the ring to do some training, I was terrified. I came back with my close friend called Visage, and they helped me through everything. I remember we tried to do a schoolboy roll-up, and I remember I had to use this arm, my bad arm, to hook their waist, and I remember trying to G myself up to go for it, and I just couldn't do it. I was too scared, and I had to turn away and I had a little cry because I was just so scared, and it just really brought everything down to reality that, can I do this? They were the questions that I was asking myself. Can I do this? Can I put myself through another injury? But because we were so persistent, we carried on. Lots of tears, lots of waiting, and lots of emotional talks. A whole year onwards, I got back in the ring. I was training properly, but this was during COVID then. So lockdown was happening, but some places were doing tapings, and that's how I made my debut to Rev Pro. One of my first matches back after the injury. So it was a big deal for me because Rev Pro has always been a company that I really aspired to wrestle for. Early 2021, I unfortunately broke my arm again at training. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as the first one. I just broke this bone again. But when I was ready to come back for that time, all these match graphics started coming up, and then that's when the pressure hit me again. And I just became terrified, I was anxious, I was worried, and I came out with this huge psoriasis rash from head to toe. It was all over, to a point that I didn't even want to go out because it was all over and I couldn't hide it. And I had people asking me, oh, what's that on your face? And this is before I've even stepped in the ring and put my gear on. So I didn't want to show my arms, I didn't want to show my tummy or anything. And it just got worse as we got closer to this first match back, because I was just so stressed about not wanting to get hurt, or am I going to still have it in the ring? When I first came back and I had that first match, I had the psoriasis rash still on me. It was all on my arms, it was horrible. My confidence was so low, my self-esteem was so low. But luckily, as soon as I was in the ring, all those concerns leave. I become Kanji, who is fearless. I can take on the world when I'm her.
Stylistically, Kanji is a wrestler's wrestler. She's a great technician. She's also a striker. So it's a dangerous combination for any opponent. And I think that she takes a lot of influence from a strong style of professional wrestling. I know she's a huge fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, when you talk about Mercedes Moné, I believe Mercedes Moné is also a student of the game. And I think that that's where they're going to mesh perfectly with one another, because they both respect their heritage, they both respect the history of the business, they both study a lot in terms of different wrestling styles, but how to incorporate that into their style. And I think that that's kind of exciting.
She's constantly learning, like she loves the Mexican style, she loves the Japanese style, she loves the British style. The fact that she's constantly learning these different styles and how we learn and how the Mexicans learn and how the Japanese learn. She obviously knows how the Americans work. I think that really shows how much she actually just does love the sport. And I think because we both share a love for the process of training, I definitely think we'll have chemistry when we're in the ring. I'll describe my in-ring style as hard-hitting, technical, innovative, and unique. So I grew up around women who weren't allowed to do certain things, whereas now we have a platform where we can do whatever we want. And so I'm taking full advantage of that. Well, I've been really trying to work hard with the technical side of wrestling. And I've been speaking to some of the best technical wrestlers that we have. So I've been speaking to Gideon Gray, I've been speaking to Ridgway, Jordan Breaks. I've been watching so much of Zack Sabre Jr. You could probably see it when I wrestle, that's Zack. Just because I think he's absolutely fantastic, he's one of the best in the world. So why would you not go to those people and look for them for inspiration? So because I've been going down this route of technical wrestling, Serena Deeb is someone that is up there in the technical wrestling scene. So I was really happy that, we had that moment. We had great chemistry in the ring. To hear the audience reaction when, I got the win was unreal. I really didn't expect a reaction like that. And I remember after the referee counted 3, I remember looking out and seeing audience's eyes. Everyone stood up, hands on the head, like eyes wide. And I was like, oh my gosh. I did not expect the shock reaction to that. And so when the time came when I'm wrestling Deonna Purrazzo, that was another huge opportunity for me to prove to another absolute superstar in this wrestling industry what I can actually do and that what we can do together for British wrestling.
Mercedes Moné is a student of the game. Because of that, she will be studying Kanji, she'll be watching videotape of her, she'll be even looking at little things like body language, Kanji's body language, how she's carrying herself, etc., etc. Dave Bradshaw said something about Deonna Purrazzo in preparation for her match with Kanji, saying that if she was watching Kanji's videotape, whatever her strategy was, she would have to throw it out the window and come up with a new one. Because Kanji's that good and Kanji's evolving all the time. And Mercedes Moné knows that all too well. So she will absolutely be watching videotape and she will absolutely be studying, she'll absolutely be preparing. She's turning up to show out. She's turning up to show the world. And I believe, in my mind as well, just through the conversations I've had with Mercedes and Mercedes management, I genuinely believe that she would love nothing more than to be taken to the limit. She would love nothing more than to be tested in the biggest way possible, because for her, it's all about competition as well, and the more competition there is, the better it is for everyone, the better it is for women everywhere. If anyone thinks Mercedes Moné is overlooking this contest, they can think again.
I feel a huge pressure to represent British wrestling when wrestling her, Mercedes, and I felt that same pressure when it came to Serena Deeb. I felt the same pressure when it came to Deonna. But because I've had those experiences, and they've been very positive experiences, even from fans around the world who's tuned in to watch the matches, we've had a great response. So I think those matches have prepared me for this pressure, which I'm so grateful for. I do feel that the pressure is very heavy because I do feel like I am representing everything that we are as British wrestlers. Not just British wrestlers, but women more specifically. Mercedes is a big influencer on female empowerment. I, for one, am too, but I have to stand in the position that represents all the women in British wrestling. in that one moment. And I only have one moment to do it in. And I just hope I do the girls justice. I really do. I have a few issues with self-belief, and I've been told it a few times. So I really just hope that this is an opportunity to prove to myself that I can stand for not just me, but for a group of strong-ass women that do it for women.
When you think about when the match was announced, when the match became official, and you see the look on Kanji's face, and you see the pure emotion on her face, and the look in her eyes, and the smile, you can't fake that. It was genuine emotion from a genuine human being.
As I was watching Diana Perazzo leave, and then the video of Mercedes Moné came up, and just for her to say my name was something that I didn't think I'd ever expect. Someone, not just of her caliber or her status, but the fact that she's at that status as a woman, and she has done so much in the wrestling industry for women. And for her to be on this big screen saying my name, it felt like that moment was stuck in time. Just because it made me realise that we've come so far, and now all that hard work, all those injuries, all those hours of training, of enjoyment and joy, everything has now made it so the opportunity has come to us. You feel like you don't deserve it because you never expected it to happen. And then once she'd stopped, and I had to almost like pull myself together and bring myself down to like earth, like we are here now. Oh my gosh, now I have to respond. Do I have to respond almost? And I feel like the audience did it for me. The fact that they stood up and they started chanting, "You deserve it." I really didn't expect that response at all.
We've seen how Mercedes has elevated even people she's defeated. Look at Stephanie Vaquer after Mercedes Moné defeated her. So could Kanji find victory in defeat? Absolutely she could, but at the same time, if Kanji is victorious, if Kanji becomes the new undisputed British Women's Champion, then not just people in Britain, people around the world are going to be talking about Kanji. This is a career-changing opportunity for her.
I think when it comes to thinking about winning or losing, I delve into quite a few different religions and I pick and choose what resonates with me as a person. And one thing I did read in the Hindu spiritual book is whenever you're doing something, whatever that is, you're giving a service, you're doing a service, you shouldn't think about the outcome. And if your whole heart is in that moment, you are doing nothing wrong. Whereas if you get distracted by the finishing result, your whole mind and your whole mentality isn't on that one moment, what means the most. So I'm not really thinking about the outcome of it, other than we have a moment here where I'm wrestling Mercedes Moné, and this is a huge moment for us as British wrestling. But if you force me to think about the outcome, if I was to win the undisputed British Women's Championship, if I retired before holding that, I don't think I'd be happy. I don't think I would have completed my journey in British wrestling successfully. That's how much that belt means to me.
When we're talking about the undisputed British Women's Championship, you think about all the women that have held that championship belt, from our inaugural champion Ginny to Jamie Hayter, to Giselle Shaw, to Alex Windsor, Danny Luna. You know, it's a laundry list of world-class, high-level professional wrestlers, and it's really a sign of what the women's division is all about. And I think that when you hold that undisputed British Women's Championship, it really means something. It means you're the best in class, and it means that you're spearheading that division, and I know the growth of the women's division has gone side by side with the growth of that undisputed British Women's Championship. And of course, Mina Shirakawa, she brought a lot of international eyeballs onto the championship, and Mercedes Moné now has taken that to the next level. I genuinely believe that anyone who holds that undisputed British Women's Championship has the argument of saying they're the best in the world at what they do.
Southside was a promotion that took a huge chance on me when one of their talents unexpectedly couldn't make the show, because it was a women's tournament, and I tweeted them to say, I'm so excited to watch this show. And they obviously knew who I was from that point. I was very new. Someone couldn't make it. They asked me when I was there to say, can you jump in? Luckily, I had my gear. I did what I've always been told, always take your gear to any show, and luckily I did. So they put me on, and I was wrestling for them ever since. I'm really happy actually, because that belt holds so much meaning and purpose behind who I am and what my journey meant to me and others and fans of Southside. So I'm so happy that belt is still a physical feature for Rev Pro. But to hold the championships, those two championships, I feel like it would ground me and make me realise that I am where I belong. I am British wrestling.
I think that Mercedes Moné is a great technician, and I know that Kanji can match her in that light. You look at Kanji's technique against some of the best technical wrestlers, such as Serena Deeb, such as Diana Perazzo. You see how well Kanji can match with high-level wrestlers, and I think that that's what Mercedes Moné is. She's a high-level wrestler. She's very confident on the mat, and so is Kanji. And I think that that's what I find interesting. There's always a saying of wrestling being a game of human chess. And I believe that this contest between Mercedes Moné and Kanji could well be the ultimate game of human chess. If this was 12 months ago, would she be able to handle the weight of expectation? I think the answer would be yes, but I think now she'll be able to take it in her stride. And I think that that's the difference between being good and being great. And I think that it's very clear that Kanji is on a path towards greatness.
I think maybe the last 8 months, maybe 6 months, I'd say I've been having the best matches I've ever had, to a point that I'm watching them back and I'm really happy with almost everything I see. And I feel so comfortable in the ring. And I don't know if that's because I'm surrounded by people that are constantly saying that they believe in me and they're proud of me and they believe I can do it. I think that's a big factor, being surrounded by that sort of energy and people who have so much trust in you and that are telling you that you can do it. It's not just you're fighting for yourself, you're fighting for your own belief, you've got other people fighting for you too. And I think that just brings me up to this point where I'm in a position now where I know who I am and I know that I can do it. I am actually made for wrestling. I believe it. Like, it feels too good to not be made to do this. A lot of people have said that Mercedes Moné and I have a quite similar style of wrestling, and I think at high stakes it will definitely be on show, because I agree. But you best believe that when it comes down to it, there can only be one winner, and I am bringing both those championships back home to British wrestling.